Thank you for joining us. It's an honor to have you with us, and so thank you very much. As I was saying our follower that you are a globetrotter from my point of view, because you are all over the world. You have been all over the world, and so you have so many insights and so many points of views that can be really helpful to and very interesting to listen to your chat, to what you have to say to us tonight. Just to give a little introduction, RADOUANE, as I said, globetrotter, artist. At the moment, he has always worked with the art accessibility and disadvantaged communities. He has taken care of creative industries. He has organized a master in museum management recently in Qatar with University College London, and he is an expert that we want to really listen to. And first of all, you live in New Zealand, and that's something that's really interesting. It's very interesting to me. How is the pandemic going in New Zealand? And do you think that having a president which is a woman has really made a difference, or it depends on something else?
Yes. Well, good evening there, right? It must be like evening time.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. So I just want to quickly start with the necessity of having of leadership when it comes to crisis. So when it comes to critical times like this, I think it's ideal and it's really important to acknowledge also the role of leadership, no matter what field. It could be political, it could be cultural, it could be even in museums, and this is really important factor. So I think in terms of leadership, I think the current Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, she did a great job with the way how her government just contained the whole situation in really in a good manner. And I think also there's also this awareness, this social awareness of all New Zealanders, basically, that we have to work it out together, no matter what our views, and we have to make it happen. So yeah, and it's working. Obviously, we're level 2 now, so we dropping quickly down a level, and meaning a lot of businesses are open now. It's kind of not back to normal 100%, but it's still effective and it's working. Today, the National Museum is opening today.
Great. So congratulations and good luck for the museums. But about coming to talk about museums, do you think that they will they will manage things in the same way as before, or that this pandemic has impacted the management and the approach to their activity?
Right. I think there's definitely a crisis there, in a way that a lot of museums, they're just trying to monitor the damage, because the problem is there's not enough data or enough research done yet, because of course, the pandemic is still going and happening. So there's nothing really clear yet, but I can go through that probably just quickly with give us a framework or idea about like what's happening in terms of impact, because I think when it comes to institutions, we're talking about just latest survey from UNESCO and ICOM talking about 13% of museums might close permanently, which is a big significant number.
Absolutely.
And I think this is still happening. I mean, we're still not done yet. So that's why these surveys and reports are still, there's continuous research there. There's a global financial crisis for museums in terms of management. And that's probably the biggest crisis ever for all institutions at the same time. Because a lot of we know that it's up and down. There's a lot of museums struggling financially, but they managed to get over it because obviously there's support from could be a private sector, public sector, or even the community. But when it comes to a global crisis where all museums are basically in need of this support, here's like a problematic here, because it's all about a conflict of competition, who deserves support more. It's kind of really interesting times to see like this situation like this. I mean, I will go quickly like through. In Europe, you will see the Rijksmuseum. I've been there last for it was like a study trip to Amsterdam. So the Rijks and Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam, and I was really amazed to see like the figures were going down from 300,000 to 600,000 euros a week. That's a loss of a big significant portion of their budget, and that's very interesting to acknowledge. Also, this is only Europe. We're also talking about other countries that they don't have already support. I mean, I'm lucky enough. We're doing like this degree in Qatar, because of course Qatar they are working like they're doing a great job with their infrastructure or the museology landscape, which is like completely new, but still there is a lot of work there, and it's really amazing. I'm fortunate to be there. But I think for other Arabic speaking countries, it's very, very challenging. I mean, especially for small museums in the Arab world.
Yes, I think so. And by this respect, I wanted to ask you something that might sound controversial, but it doesn't want to be mean. It's just it's just a question that I want to share with you. But do you think that the form of museum, the idea of museum, is the correct form to exhibit, preserve, and communicate cultural heritage in non-Western countries?
No, it's a good question. I think the idea is. Are you talking about this time we're living in during the crisis, or before?
In general, do you think that in general, if museums for what we have in Europe or in the States is the correct form to be exported, the bad word, and full of remembrance, to be exported also in other cultures and in other in other parts of the world with other history, because then there is another topic I wanted to talk to you. It's the accessioning, that we were talking. And so in Europe we have some problems of restituting, of giving back something, but a lot of things. but then for us maybe it has a different meaning, that the meaning that might have for the native people who got this material. But maybe I'm mixing too much and I'm doing philosophy, so please.
Yeah, no, I think part of the controversy, as you mentioned, is the idea that there is like, now we can see like the shift of the narratives, of course, in all museums in the West, in the way that we can clearly see that also the East is offering also another a platform that it's opposed to the Western world, and especially I would say from the experience I had in Qatar, I think museums in Qatar, they are of course they have this global impression that it's like a global institution with like latest architecture that looks fancy and all that. But again, in terms of content or in terms of narratives to this their collections, it's very it's actually interesting, because I would give an example with the Islamic Art Museum, which is one of the most impressive museums I've ever seen, like in the Middle East or probably in the West. But it's interesting to see this. Okay, we have like a mission, of course, to be branded as a global museum, which is kind of like a there's a lot of museums like that in the Gulf region right now, because they're also based on this idea of like what we call like the Bilbao factor. It's like now there's the Guggenheim, the Louvre in Abu Dhabi. So they all have this franchise aspect, except the Islamic Art Museum. That was quite unique, because you can see this, of course, this global aspect to it. But however, the collection content, there is also this idea of like ownership of the collection, and it's not from a repatriation aspect. It would be more about creating your own content, creating your own narratives of the collection, and it's impressive. I mean, really impressive collection. I think that's what probably make it really valuable for people to see, because a lot of people like coming from all around the world to see their collection, and it does have this feeling of like, okay, we usually, the West used to have this interpretation of our collection, our subject, but now we are going to tell our own narratives, and that's kind of special, really. I think that's why probably part of what I was going to talk about is the idea of like this. It's good to look at the positive side from this crisis as well, for especially some Western museums. I mean, from my experience in Italy, I didn't feel, especially in the south, I lived in Sicily for a while, for a year. I think the idea is probably now during this crisis, there is a really a valid opportunity for a lot of museums to build sort of like a public to build this like contact with the community and have like a public relationship in terms of like their collection, because there's a need now of transparency, which is really important. And I think this relationship needs to be built on the opportunity, for example, during the crisis, the financial crisis for museums is to instead of the accessing, of course, the accession for financial reasons, but also to disposal for repatriation. So museums, they could give now. This is the best time. This is the best time, I think, for some museums who can't, for example, afford having like the daily cost of restoration or conservation. It's really important to consider now the time to give some of these objects back. And I think this is really interesting because we have a museum there's a Museum de l'Homme in Paris, in Paris. That museum got a lot of actually dark stories about their collection and in terms of repatriation, because we're talking about a museum that had over 20,000 skulls in their collection. And of course, a lot of these objects that used to be under the umbrella of scientific research, now I think it's very critical, important time to probably consider giving back those objects in the collection to probably change the mission, because the crisis will have an effect on the vision and the mission of each museum, which is really clear.
Yes, that's absolutely true. It's true, and maybe regarding repatriation, there is regarding repatriation, there are also a lot of ethical problems, and so many of these museums should take advantage at the moment also to think about what's ethical to be put on display, and what needs to be treated in a more respectful way in comparison to, considering the feelings of some communities, because that's also an important point. Do you think that in New Zealand, this situation of repatriation, not repatriation, but how can I say, restitution? Yes, restitution to the natives has reached a good level of interchange between New Zealand and the natives, or do you think that some other things have to be done? And what's the relationship also with Britain or the other former colonial countries?
I personally think, of course, we are very lucky to be in a country where they have like a really strong program, and this program is adopted by the Papa, the National Museum, which is all about basically the repatriation of ancestry remains from museums all around the world. And this program actually it's still up and running. They just getting I think recently they got last year basically there was like another collection that was, well, actually other remains that will sent back finally. But what was interesting while I was checking this program online, it was the idea that the role of the museum in this procedure is the process where you can see the Papa is acting as a guardian, not as an owner of the collection, which is very interesting to mention, because when you see a national museum is not in a situation to act as owner where they get in the collection to have the collection. It's not acquisition. It's not so. It's a delicate situation, because you see the museum, of course, need to negotiate with other institutions, but is definitely acting on behalf of the native community. And this program is really interesting to see, because it's very effective to the point now. The Maori community who are running the program, I saw like they are already helping other native communities around the Asia Pacific region. And of course, sharing experience is very important in this, especially when you're dealing with a subject like this, because it's quite, it could be sensitive, it could be also political, and that's very interesting. I think to see, like, probably later on for the Arab world. I'm talking also about the north of Africa, because I'm originally coming from Morocco. I think there's really an interesting times now where we have like a lot of there's a controversy with also the past narratives of colonial time with France. And it's really important to see that, of course, there's really what we need is also to have a vision. Like, are we going to get the collection, or we get like basically our narratives from this collection back to Morocco, or we just basically moving forward and we build new narratives? This is a big question. I don't know. To be honest, it's up to also the vision and the mission of these museums asking for repatriation. I think that's crucial. Yeah.
Yes. No, that's very interesting. And I've taken you already longer than I promised you, but I received a question from my other channel, and somebody would like to ask you what will be the most important skill a future museum manager should have from your point of view? Maybe talking about narratives, to be a good communicator or to be a good leader. I don't know.
I think leadership is really important. It's crucial, actually. I just think also in this critical times of COVID-19, it's also important for museum managers to have also sort of like a long-term vision in terms of accessibility regarding digital, because we notice like everything now is shifting suddenly to digital. All museums, they're just in a panic mode, basically. A lot of people thinking, well, it's gotta be basically you're just having a website with a catalog or something like that. It's like an e-commerce platform or something like that. But no, it's deeper than that. It's more about creating this immersive experience where visitors also they have something to say. Well, you need to share their opinion also in the digital world, because that's that's completely different than the physical space, and that's why I think this probably we all institutions are struggling in the way that of course we still don't have a vaccine, the crisis is not over, but it might take like a year or 2 or 3 or even longer to find a proper strategy that it's adopting a digital experience. I think the digital experience for big museums, of course, they do have already their programs, and then I think the Rijksmuseum is a great example for this digital immersive experience where visitors they can like create their own collection, which is amazing. I think that's a great example. But however, I think moving forwards, it might be challenging for institutions, and it's important for managers to have this vision in terms of digital connectivity and how to create this friendly environment for visitors. Because also we have to mention that there's a very, very important thing that might change also the whole game, basically, is the 5G technology. Because when we're talking about the 5G technology, we're just like, of course, everybody busy now with COVID, and with just like, okay, just how to switch to digital to have like to represent ourselves on virtual platforms. But also it's good to consider as a new technology like the 5G, which will create like basically which have like impact on the way how we're dealing with collection. It's not only about looking at a catalog, but also it's gonna be this idea of having a museum as integrated element to our daily social life, which is I would frame it in a word like calling a smart museum, because everything with 5G is going to be smart. We have now smart fridge, smart TV, smart this, smart that, and with 5G everything is connected under one cloud. And that's very, very interesting, because we also will have these institutions dealing with a metadata. Like recently now we have those applications on the phone tracing us. I mean, even when I go to buy coffee, I'm buying it from the Apple Watch, and you can see that I'm using like a tracing app where, of course, the government, they get, so they will do that. Even they are opening right now, but you have to scan a barcode or something like that in your app, and that means museums, they are going to get your personal data, and meaning the institution needs also to adapt to this idea of being a smart institution, where they can build strategies like marketing, improve the digital platform, and also talk about privacy, because that's the challenge. That will be the challenge.
But really the last one, because I would like to stay hours to talk to you. We will do it next time, but I want you, I don't want to keep you long, but do you think that the communities, for instance, the communities as you work with these disadvantaged communities earlier, will they accept a museum that goes digital or that goes smart, or they will or they will prefer the old analogical museum of years ago? I don't know. That's really something, because I'm cut in the middle. I'm kind of quite technological person, that would like to have big data everywhere to make strategies. I agree with you. But then you have maybe children or people with cognitive difficulties or some other kind of impairment, and so that maybe the physical approach is easier and is more welcome. What do you think? What do you think that how do you think that some kind of communities will accept this transformation to digital and smartness?
I think there's no escape from this, technology, or like probably the digital environment that we have. It's spreading everywhere, and especially when it comes to this virtual experience that museums had to offer. I think it's really important to think about the bigger picture. That's why I mentioned leadership is a part of leadership is to have this long-term vision, because we sooner or later, probably in the US, it's going to take time, because of course there's a political conflict with the Chinese regarding this 5G technology, because for the first time it's coming from the East, which is like really creating a conflict there. But sooner or later, we already have this technology. I think in Qatar, it was already there. But we don't have really a choice as a community or as an audience, I would say, in terms of sharing for example, our personal data. Like during the crisis, now we realize like the authority of government, it's very, very, it could be very worrying, and also kind of like we start to think maybe we have to slow down a bit and think about how can we build a safe digital environment for just the way how we practice like our daily life. Because when it comes to museums, I think there's this new element of institutions where they had to integrate new applications, new technology for audience now with restrictions. We're talking restrictions not only of COVID, but also this restrictions need to be included in the ethical code or the standards of the institution itself, because we're talking about privacy, we're talking about managing the metadata, we're talking about a whole new idea of adapting to this platform. Maybe in terms of outreach program, I don't know about what's the I can't really have a vision about like the outreach program or the educative cognitive experience for the next generation, but I'm pretty sure that for this generation X and Z, we have like also this idea that moving forward there will be like even more need to a digital element there, and that's probably the challenge of these old institutions, because the new institutions, they already have some knowledge there. It's just for the older institution, it's quite difficult to be transparent about it, and transparency is key. Community engagement, not only through the program, but also in terms of funds. It could be also in terms of collection transparency, because if we are changing our mission or vision for in terms of institution, it's really important to consider the role of the community within the institution. So I think this is like something that hopefully we can see later on, because I think, just to close, because we have a really interesting example currently in France. I think there was the Meuble National Museum, the furniture museum, where they accessioning. Well, they put in an auction, like some of their collection from the King Philip. They're gonna do that, I think, for it's dated for September, sometime like this. And the idea is really interesting, to see an institution representing basically a national heritage material and trying to put it in auction in order to support or help the hospitals, which is like another government institution. But at this time you realize, well, where is the role of the community? You start asking questions about, like, where is the voice of the community? Where is the say of the community regarding selling assets, or regarding selling collection to private collectors? Because now we're talking about, like, really, really important questions about the role of community. Are museums representing the communities, or they're just museums basically they working with communities? Or there's another question, maybe, do we have to change or swap the seats and give the community a say, where they can give their input also to in terms of museums? Because this is, like, really a difficult time for both of, the institution and also the audience. So
yes, absolutely. So Rad, I thank you very much, and really, I am not joking. I wish I could stay all night long from my side to discuss with you, because also with your last intervention, you raised some point that I would like to go more in detail, but maybe we can meet another time, and so we can go on with this with our chat. And thank you very much. As you know, we will put this video in our ITGV for some while, for some time, and then on YouTube. So you are welcome to go on and see it, use it, or say, no, please cancel. No, I don't. So, nevertheless, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure, and let's stay in touch.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and buonasera.
Buonasera. Goodbye. Bye-bye.